Hey, this is Amy with Flower Moxie. I'm here to show you what our 3 type of kits are. So we've got the no DIY, we've got the hybrid, and we've got the from scratch DIY. So let's do an unboxing on this. This is how they come, very secured, wrapped in paper. And here's how the bouquet comes right out of the box. This is the bridal. This is the centerpiece. We have 2 bridals on this one and 2 centerpieces. Each comes wrapped in a plastic sleeve. All of it is organized, trimmed, cleaned, and it even comes with some food. So this one is the bridesmaid. So with like a little marker, I would write bridesmaid with some tape. That way I know going back to it. And you're gonna think, just do this. But I don't want you to do that because you want these flowers to open to their max capacity. And although they need to travel really closed, you want to open so they begin to get larger and blow out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off the ribbon. I'm gonna just cut away the rubber band. And of course it needs a fresh cut. So I'm gonna cut at an angle. And I am going to just place down in the bucket. And it's all cut at the same length. I'm loosening it up and you think, oh, you just ruined it. You just ruined the bouquet and now I'm gonna have to put it all back together again. That's not so. It's a matter of just picking it up, adding the extra flowers and rebundling. Because it's built in the spiral, it will hold. We're gonna do the same for the bridal bouquet. So we've already added food to this bucket, but if you haven't, then you can use the food that it comes with. It's not mandatory, but it's nice. So this is the bridal. I would again write bridal on this. That way I knew. You might know, but you might have helpers. And when they come in, we want them to know exactly what they're working with. And one thing that you're going to pay attention to is the guard petals. So just because this is a ready-made bouquet does not mean that you get to go without guard petals. That's the outside petals that you need to pluck off. So when you look at these bouquets, you might see a few bruised ones. That is normal. You're gonna pluck those petals off. And then these carnations came in really tight. I'm gonna let it just rehydrate on its own. But once it's rehydrated, I can always push up and open a carnation with my fingers. But I don't like to do any of those things right when I get it in because it's been traveling from the farm for a couple days. So I just feel it needs a little bit of time, and that's why you want to get these flowers early. A vase to put this in. This is the centerpiece. Don't cut that. I think I'm actually going to put this in a bucket because I feel, let me see if I can swap it out. I want it to sprawl out a bit more, and there's a lot more stems in that centerpiece than in the bridesmaid. So I'm going to swap this out. And this is just a good lesson. You want it to have space to open. When you're going the no DIY option, it is about to get very easy for you, but that doesn't mean that you don't have anything to do. So what I have is I have the bridal bouquet, a centerpiece, and a bridesmaid bouquet. I also have a boutonniere, so you might have boutonnieres and corsages. First off, when you get these, you can always give them a cut, put them like in a little shallow dish or shot glass of water. And then after it drinks for a bit, I want you to put it in a hydration chamber, which is fancy word for some kind of glass Tupperware container that has a seal on it. So I have damp paper towel. I place that in there. I put damp paper towel on top of it, seal it, and then pop it in the refrigerator. This way it will stay hydrated. You don't have to do anything else to it. Maybe wrap it with some ribbon because it's just gonna come with stem tape. Next, let's do the bridesmaid bouquet. So it's had a day to just hydrate and open. So what I'm looking for now is plucking off any guard petals. So if you see anything bruised, that doesn't mean that something bad happened. It's just part of shipping flowers is you're going to have a few bruised ones on the outside guard petals. If it looks more intense than that, then take a picture of it and send it to us so we can get eyes on it. But this is part of the process. Also, I have these carnations and they're not really open, so I'm going to use my thumb to open these up and just kind of take a look at everything. And so this is the most no fuss route. So at this point, I'm just gonna pick up this bridesmaid bouquet, and we had unbanded it because we wanted it to open, remember? So at this point, I'm gonna zhuzh it. I'm gonna adjust it to get the most for my bouquet. So I'm gonna come in, I'm going to pluck off a few of the leaves that I don't like, that feel kind of chewy. And you can slap a rubber band on it just like this and it's not offensive. But as a florist, I wanna zhuzh it a bit more. You might want to. So I have a mirror here. I have to see my bouquets. So I'm going to look at this and I notice I have this rose in back. So what I wanna do is make it a bit more front loaded. So I'm gonna try to do this without seeing it, but I'm going to pull up the flowers in the back and make it have a flat back. The reason I do this is because I know bridesmaids are gonna constantly lay down their flowers. So I do this with the bridal and the bridesmaid bouquets. So I wanna make sure and lift these little asters because I want them seen, as well as the delphinium. This is our pastel wildflower, it's like soft wildflower. So I want it to be a little bit asymmetrical. But the nice thing is you can just like adjust it as you see fit. So I'm gonna sink the roses in front down. So you notice I'm doing like a stacking effect with this. This delphinium's getting a bit squished, so I'm gonna pull this guy up. I think I'm gonna pull him to the back. So it was built in a spiral at the farm, so you don't have to do a lot. You can just pick it up and make adjustments. And that's why this no DIY flower kits that we have, it's so nice for people who maybe don't have a lot of time the week of their wedding. Maybe you're a bit nervous to DIY and you're like, I don't think I can just start from scratch and do the whole thing. This is a great alternative. So yeah, I just made some adjustments. I want it to be a little bit more free-formed, not super fussy. I want to raise up any flowers I really want to be seen. I want to sink down the greenery a little bit, but I'm really happy with where it's at. I think I'm going to adjust this rose placement because I have a big rose right here. When you blow into the roses, and we can lay it down, it opens them, or we can turn them over and spin them. When they have a straight stem, it's a little bit easier. There we go. And that helps open them. Here we go. So yeah, I just made a few adjustments and this bridesmaid bouquet is ready to go. So at this point, what I'm going to do is slap a rubber band on it. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a straight cut. We want all the stems at the same level to make it look clean and polished. And you take a rubber band. Easiest way to do it, instead of trying to tackle all of them, is hook one strong stem like this. And we're gonna wrap it around a couple times until it's tight, but we don't want it so tight that it's just pulling on the stems and threatening to break or bend them. And there we go. At this point, we can put some ribbon on it and it is ready to walk down the aisle. So this level of DIY is so minimal. This would be total no DIY. The next level up would be hybrid. That's when we send you these and we also send you extras. So if you want to add bougie or fancier flowers, that's how you can do that. But you'll do the same The same thing for the bridal bouquet. And I'm just adding a little short pixie pin. We sell these, they're so much better than the straight pins. And this is good to go. So you can do this, here we go. You can do this the second day. So let's say your wedding's on Saturday, you get your flowers on Wednesday. You can do this on Thursday, which gives you a lot of time to get your nails done, to do things that you have to do that week. And just let them hang out in their hydration vase like this. On the bridal bouquet, I will say that I don't ever add the ribbon until right before the bride's going to take pictures or walk down the aisle, because you don't want it to get wet. And usually with the bridal bouquet, I'm gonna come in with something like a little bit sexier and drapier, like a silk ribbon. Lastly would be the centerpiece. So 2 ways to tackle this. Okay, when it comes to the no DIY centerpiece, there's several ways to do it. We didn't want to lock you into just one size and restrict you. So let me talk you through your different options. First option is taking this guy and breaking it apart into bud vases. So you can go pretty far with this. So I would say you could easily do about 10 to 15 bud vases with just one centerpiece of the no DIY. You can see this one's pretty large. So you can cut it up and fill up bud vases that need about 2 to 3 stems per bud vase, and they can all be different. So that's one option. And you can mix and match. A lot of times as a wedding florist, I wouldn't do the same thing on all the tables. I would mix and match. This can help save you on time. The easiest would be what I call chop and drop. So for this, you would need a cylinder. This is kind of like a prettier cylinder, but just a straight up cylinder or something like this. That's where you pick it up. You know, you zhuzh it a bit, you fluff up your carnations, pluck off the guard petals like you're going to do, and then you're just gonna cut it to just drop it in the vase. Almost like you would see for like a Mother's Day arrangement. So this is very, very easy. This is gonna be your most time-friendly option. The only problem with this option is it's not styled like a typical wedding centerpiece would be, and then it's kind of tall. So if you think of somebody sitting there, that's what makes this a little bit unfavorable, but you can change it up. Another option is to go with the mason jar size. So you see on our packages, we say, okay, like with the centerpieces, you can make 10 to 15 bud vases, you can make, you know, 5 to 6 mason jar size, and then 1 compote size. So when it comes to floral recipes, it's all about the size of the vase. So let's say you're going with mason jar size. So this is a true mason jar. It's about a 3-inch diameter. So this would fall around that. I could probably make 3 to 4 of these. If I were to just take this, you know, grab a handful, pull it out, cut it, and put it in this mason jar size. So it doesn't have to be a mason jar. I know that those aren't, you know, the trendiest thing like it was in 2008 when I was a new florist. And lastly, this would be your most labor intensive, but this is going to probably be the most popular because this is going to be what you see on Pinterest, Instagram, and this is what I call a compote. So something that looks a little bit more footed, a bit more elegant. So I have some plant-based eco foam down in this, and we'll be selling that as soon as Oasis releases it. So we want to get away from the green traditional foam. We're always going to tape in our mechanics. So I'm using our waterproof floral tape. Do not touch the Scotch tape, no matter how tempted you are. It will not hold up. And we do have clear. The green sticks the best, and a lot of times I can cover it up. But we've taped in our mechanics. This foam is already wet and soaked, and there's water in the space. So let me show you how I would do this. It's still way faster from starting from scratch, because you might be thinking, why is the pre-made helpful when you take it apart? Well, it's helpful because it's already recipe'd out, and you just lay it on the table and you start just working with the flowers that's kind of given to you and trimming as you go. So you may not believe me, but it is a bit faster. A lot of times I start with the greenery. So I'm going to kind of separate this out for myself a little bit. And you can set up a station. So I always recommend anytime you have helpers, have the most confident and competent one build a mock-up for people to follow and maybe give like a little, tutorial to your helpers. And have the same person like repeating these because they'll get faster, more efficient, and they'll look, more similar. We don't need them to be twins, just sisters. Okay, so I'm starting with just kind of greening out the edges, and what I'm doing is setting up what my parameters are for this. So that way it kind of keeps me in line. And honestly, it's not a bad thing. When I've worked really large events, we've had designers just sit and like green it out and it's like a assembly line. So what happens is people get really good at greening things out quickly, and then the other person is adding the florals. So it seems like inefficient, but it really isn't. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of greening it out, getting some of this penny crest distributed. And I'm gonna fill it in, well, let's see, I have 4 roses. I'm gonna go ahead and set those roses. And you might be asking, like, why are you placing things where? I will show you. It's called the triangle. We're gonna learn it together. Okay. So check it out. This is do you see the triangle? So I always set my lowest point first, and it really helps with the placement, and that helps get you started. So start with the triangle. So you kind of see I have this implied line of a triangle, and that helps guide you of where to place the next thing. So I only have 4 roses, which of course breaks my triangle if I were to put it on this side, but I need to fill in the back side. So I'm gonna come around here and pop a rose on the back side. So on the back side, I have a triangle, and stuff will get filled in the middle. I'm gonna do the same thing with the carnations. So I'm gonna floof them up a bit. And it's always, like when you're building, you wanna put things on different planes. So like I put the carnation pushing out a little bit, not on the same plane as the rose. So that's how you get away with building organically. It seems effortless until you try, kind of like modern art. So, the triangle can be a little bit different. And there's our next triangle. So I'm making a triangle with the same material, right? And we're gonna add this guy to the back side, which is also a front for somebody else. I always have a side that I like better than the other. Okay, now I'm gonna get my line flowers. I've got this delphinium. So see how I've kind of created this U shape? I want to augment that. So I'm gonna come in with this delphinium and place it along the same line. I've already kind of set the lines with the rose. And this is how you build an arrangement that has flow to it, like visual flow. And it really helps when you're working with the same material at one time. When I was a new florist, I would just kind of alternate what I grabbed, and I would just be confused at every placement of like, oh, should I put it here? And then I learned it is much more helpful if I will focus in on one material at a time. And it's a lot easier to have a lazy Susan, but I forgot to grab that. So it is nice to have a couple of those on hand. Okay, so at this point, let's go ahead and fill things in. I've got this Status, which is a lesser expensive flower, but it's really nice texture. But I'm gonna go ahead and bury that a little bit lower. So anytime you have a not so favorite in an arrangement, and that might be the case on these pre-mades because you don't get to like pick each exact flower. Don't fret if there's like something in it that you don't like, because honestly what you may not realize is you need that to kind of fill in the gaps to create texture and volume. I don't love to use the word filler flower because it implies that that's just like not necessary. And I don't think that that's true. When I was a new florist, I would just fill all of my arrangements with like expensive flowers, and they all looked boring as hell because it was just a bunch of ranunculus and roses. And while it was beautiful, it didn't have really any visual interest. So we personally picked all of the flowers that go in these pre-mades. So it's not like you just get what you get. Like, we have guidelines, and I wanted to have that so your arrangements would look interesting and be very balanced. But Status is the lesser expensive one. So we're gonna bury this guy down. We're gonna use it to cover our mechanic. So I'm covering this foam. Now we have our asters, and I freaking love these. I forgot this greenery. All right, let me fill in some greenery. I feel like my mother getting sidetracked, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity to disperse this. And if you're not a big greenery lover, then just sink it low. You still need it, again, because you need coverage. But it doesn't have to be so main page. So cutting it shorter and putting it tighter into the arrangement is what's going to give you the coverage without it taking over. Okay, now we've got these spray roses. I want these guys to be a bit more prominent. So I'm gonna place them in the middle to kind of bridge that gap. We've got big blooms on the outside and not a lot on the inside. So I'm gonna pull these little spray roses into this. And you know, even if you're pretty much doing all DIY, or I'm sorry, the no DIY, it doesn't hurt getting a few extra bunches of flowers just on the side to fill in the gaps, because it's not uncommon to lose a couple, to break a couple. I do it every wedding. Okay, so I've filled in with those spray roses. Now, ooh, I forgot a delphinium. Where can you go? This is where that Lazy Susan would be helpful. I'm gonna see if I can work it into the middle without breaking that pretty line that we have. When you have the opportunity to curve something out versus curving something in, I would opt to more curving it in, because it's kind of like a painting. You don't want to like throw the eye off the canvas. So I used to be really bad about curving things out, and sometimes that's appropriate, but I've learned to kind of more curve it back in so it goes back to focal. So now I'm filling in with these asters. These are a lot like chamomile, but way more hardy, so that's why we picked these. And I'm just kind of letting them dance above everything else. So this took no time at all. It took a lot less time than if I was just unrolling bunches of flowers, trying to recipe things out. Like, I know that everything on this table can go in this centerpiece. And as you can see, I'm gonna have leftovers, and you'll have leftovers. And why this is handy is because you can give it to your photographer for flat lays. You can make like a little guest book table arrangement, fill up some bud vases. I mean, there's always like reasons for extra flowers, but that's why we really wanted to recipe these out nicely. When it comes to doing the compote, just don't go over a 5-inch diameter, meaning the mouth of it needs to stay around 5 inches. Because when you get up into the 6-7 inch, it doubles your product, and then you will be hurting because you won't feel like you have enough blooms. It's crazy when it comes to vases, like 1 or 2 inches makes such a difference on the recipe. So I am liking where it's at. We'll go ahead just for the sake of time and call it done, good enough. And yeah, this will be what you'll do if you go with the compote option. So this will take the longest, this will take the shortest, and I would say these bud vases and the mason jar size, they're gonna be pretty easy too, because you're just kind of popping things in at different heights. So this is the no DIY, barely DIY option. Great for time saver and just getting a lot of volume done, and it makes it really easy on your helpers. So if you have any questions, I want you to email us. If you want to know more, we do have our DIY Academy, and thank you so much for joining us. Give us feedback on how you like them.